Jeremy Prophet here for the Hannibal TV, talking to one of my favorite people in all of professional wrestling. You know him as the Zombie Princess, Jimmy Jacobs. Jimmy, how you doing today?
One of your favorite people.
You absolutely
that's a bold statement. I appreciate that.
You absolutely are. We go, I wouldn't say we go way back, but you know, it's been a good 5-6 years from when I first met you. We worked with each other.
Sure, yeah, for sure.
And no, I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You are one of my favorite people because you're one of the most knowledgeable, intelligent and creative people I've come across in this business. You know, not to be too outspoken, but there's a lot of people that are, you know, more or less knuckle dragging Neanderthals in the wrestling world. You have quite a head on your shoulders. I like to think that I do too, and every time we're around each other, I feel I get pieces of knowledge from you. So
thank you.
I appreciate that. What have you been up to these days?
What have I been up to? Well, I've been working for Impact Wrestling for the past 2 years. I work backstage creatively. I help write that television show, which is cool. We just got on Access TV. Anthem Sports Entertainment bought Access TV, so now Impact Wrestling is on there. So I'm one of the few guys that pulls the strings backstage and writes the stories, that produces the interviews and things of that nature there, which is a blast. And I also have a podcast now called Jimmy Jacobs Doesn't Know, which is not wrestling related at all. I just talk about, you know, what is life and how should we live it, and, you know, all this sort of existential stuff that I like to talk about.
Excellent, excellent. And amidst doing all of that, which is a ton of responsibility, you still find time to wrestle like you've been doing the past couple of days here, past couple of weeks actually, on the tour for CWE. Yeah. So the in-ring career, is that something that's you know, still going to continue for a while, or are we looking more at using your creativity on the back end of things? Which way are you going?
Well, this is day 26 of the tour for me. I've been on, I think it was 31 total. I hopped on a few days afterwards. I had Impact shows before that. I fly right from here, right, to do more Impact shows, and yeah. Career is a strong word. I mean, what are we doing with our lives? It's like, I'm out here having fun, man. I'm putting on tights and I'm performing in front of people. Like, that's what I like to do. I mean, I like to work backstage too. I love producing. I like writing television. But I'll always love, you know, putting on a costume and going out the curtain and doing that. You know, that's just fun.
Well, you've been able to achieve many things throughout your career. Your Ring of Honor run, legendary to say the least, now lending your talents to Impact Wrestling. You also had some time on the creative side in WWE. That came to an end. Can you maybe tell us what you took from that time and what you hope to use those skills for in the future? Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
With WWE?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I learned a ton there. I mean, that was like a game-changing experience for me. I mean, that was really pivotal in my life in so many different ways. From a lot of different standpoints. The experience, the money I got there too, that was nice. I went from like being a struggling independent wrestler to like an adult, which is a big deal, and I still am an adult, which is crazy. But yeah, man, I learned a lot. Like it's easy. You know, it's easy to sit back, even as a wrestler, even as somebody that like knows about wrestling or is in the wrestling business, is smart in wrestling. Unless you've put pen to paper, like you really have no idea. And that's something I learned, that it's easy to point out the problems, come up with a solution, man. That's way harder. Implement that solution. Go ahead. I dare you, you know, and see how that works. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, you know. I learned a ton working from WWE, and I had a blast too, man. You know, being there at WrestleMania with my friends, you know, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn, guys like them, was awesome. Doing all the stuff with Kevin and Chris Jericho was a highlight of my time there. It was great.
You know, Kevin's a very popular name here on this channel. You and I have had some discussions in the past about him. What was it like, you know, working with some of those guys? Do you feel that what you brought to the table really meshed well with them, maybe helped to elevate them? Not to toot your own horn, but
I mean,
you know.
I'll toot my own horn. I mean, I'll just be honest. I mean, there's some things I'm, you know, not good at. I'm not a, you know, that talented in-ring performer. You know, it's like I'm all right. You know, I have fun doing it. Got a certain amount of charisma, less athletic ability. I'm fine at writing TV, but like, you know, I was good at doing these promos with these guys. I was good at producing the television. That was definitely a highlight as far as my skill set goes. And so yeah, of course, I mean the stuff with, you know, Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens was probably the best stuff I did there. You know, the list of Jericho and all that sort of stuff. It was awesome, and yeah, I was good at my job, and I earned the respect of the talent there. I think, at least the trust. You know, that's something you have to earn, because, you know, if I'm writing a promo for you, or we're collaborating really, but even if I am writing the promo for you, you gotta first look at me and go, wait a minute, what the hell does this guy know? You have to be skeptical. And then once you see that my ideas are ideas that are getting reactions out there and help getting you over, then you earn that trust. That's when talent comes to you and goes, okay, man, what are we doing? Like, how are we doing this? And building that rapport with talent was important there.
And if you were to do your run over again in WWE as a writer, do you feel there's anything you would have wanted to do differently, or was it exactly the way you would have wanted it to go without exception, and that's that?
I probably would have gotten fired earlier. I mean, in a manner of speaking, I think one of my regrets is walking around there being scared of Vince, because everybody is, more or less, something like that. Vince. When I first got there, I wasn't scared of Vince. I was like, he's a dude. He's a dude, just like we're all dudes. Yeah, he's a billionaire dude, but he's a dude. After about a month of being there, I was like, oh yeah, I see why everybody's scared of him. Because your job can just be like that. I was there a month after I was there. He wanted to fire one of the writers for not knocking on his door, his office door, before he came in. Vince was like, yeah, come back with this promo, and he came back with a promo and without knocking on the door. And Vince was like, what the hell? And wanted to fire him, and they had to. That was a whole thing. But I was like, oh wow, that's all it takes. You're always reminded you're one weird interaction away with Vince from being fired. And so that becomes like your mentality there. It's like, how am I not going to get fired today? How can I go on today and not make the crazy man angry? How am I not going to get yelled at today? And it's no fun living like that. So yeah, I think I have a certain regret with that. Now maybe I would have gotten fired earlier if that was the case. I've got a little bit of a regret in just like how I left. I mean, it worked out really well. It did, worked out well getting fired, for taking a picture with the hottest act outside of WWE. And that was, it helped, 15 minutes on the Indies. It was pretty popular for that time in late 2017. That was fun. But I probably wish I would have just said, hey guys, I'm good, I'm done, as opposed to, acting like a kid and getting in trouble, which is what happened, right? It's like I acted out, I got in trouble, and I got fired, which was like, hell yeah, good, great. But I probably should have sat my boss down and gone, you know what? I think we're done here.
Fair enough. Now, you bring up an interesting point about everyone kind of being on eggshells and being worried about their job. Do you feel that's by design, or is that maybe just a byproduct of the environment itself?
He rules by fear. Yeah, that's by design.
So it's by design. Yeah. Okay. No, I appreciate you being a straight shooter there about that one. And so, you were always a creative guy, from what I gather from you. How did you get that position with WWE?
Yeah, I've always had a certain aptitude for the storytelling aspect of the wrestling business, probably the creative aspect on some level. And so, a lot of my stuff for years, I was at least had a creative hand in doing, with my stories in Ring of Honor and things like that. And at some point, it was like 2014, and my wrestling career was just like, it had plateaued, and I just didn't know what to do.
It's right around when I met you.
Yeah, and I kind of had this epiphany one day. It's like, oh, I'm not supposed to be a wrestler. I mean, that's not where my strength lies. That's not where my success lies. I'm supposed to be a writer. I'm supposed to use what I've learned in my career to help tell the stories for other people. And once I realized that, it was like I'd spent 14 years hitting my head up against a brick wall, and I went, oh, look, there's a door right there. And I just walked right through the door, man. I made a couple calls, and I have some people in WWE that wanted to see me there, and they put me in front of the right people, and I had an interview and all that sort of shit. And
now, there's a bit of an opinion that certain criticism that WWE gets, whether it be for the writing or the flow of the shows, whatever it may be, is ignored by Vince right down the chain of command. Would you say that there's truth to that, or is it something that doesn't fall on deaf ears?
One of Vince's favorite catchphrases is, fuck 'em.
I guess that answers that. Now, you were part of a tag team with Seth Rollins at one point. Obviously, I would assume you guys are still very close.
We're close, yeah.
How do you feel that Seth has been doing with the position that he's been put in? He's been getting a bit of a mixed reaction from certain people. Obviously, it's not entire arenas booing him out of the building, but there has been a bit of a, let's call it a vocal minority, that has been kind of rough on Seth. How do you feel about the path he's going down right now?
Did they just turn him heel, I think, on TV?
It looks like they're on the cusp.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. I haven't watched the TV, much at all in the last couple years. So I keep up with what I see on Twitter, right? And look, man, it's hard. Like, what babyface has been champion? What babyface has been on top that the people haven't? It's like, cool, we like your journey there. You get there, and once you're there, it's like, all right, what else is happening? Because in a movie, the story's over. In a movie, the guy wins the title, roll credits. And then, but we live in a world where it's like, okay, and then what happens next week? And the week after that, and the week after that, the week after that, the week after that. So, there's been times, certainly, Bruno Sammartino and Hulk Hogan, that, we've had this long babyfaces runs. But really, in the last, I don't know, can you think of anything in the last, 10 years, like a babyface who's been on top, been champion for a long time, and people haven't gone, what's next? I'm asking, can you? Do you know?
No, no one really comes. No one really comes to mind.
Maybe there is. I'm not saying there isn't. But it's a hard task. That used to happen at Ring of Honor too. They'd build a guy, a babyface to become champion. You have this great moment, and then after that, it's like, all right, cool. We want to see a title change. What's next? So I think, I think he's certainly worked very hard, and he's done very well. But it's hard to be on top, man. It's hard. Right?
Fair enough. Now, another thing I wanted to ask you was regarding the writing process, from having the inception of an idea to getting it into something that materializes on TV. Now, I kind of keep tabs on you. Like I said, you're one of my favorite people in the wrestling business. Learned a lot from you. I had read that one of the first things they had assigned to you was to do a segment for Adam Rose. It was I don't know if they called it the dirt sheet, or they called it
the Rose Bud,
the Rose Bush, or the Rose, something like that.
The Rose
and
Garden,
I thought those segments, for the few weeks they did it, were absolutely hilarious.
Thanks,
where he was making fun of Tommy Dreamer. He was. I remember them like they were yesterday. It was great. Now, what's the process like when you have something like that? You write it and it gets to TV. What's the conveyor belt of getting that idea to the finished product?
Yeah. So I think that came about. The Rose Garden, right? That came about. I want to say Adam had he was kind of floundering, and I want to say he had a conversation with Vince, and so there became this decree from Vince saying, "Hey, we're going to do something with Adam Rose. He's going to have like a gossip segment or whatever." And so then I was a newer guy there, and Adam's sort of like a bottom of the card guy, so I was sort of assigned to him, and it was like, all right, let's try like what the soup or whatever, where you have the screen there, when they talk about, one of those, what I talk about?
Yeah, like Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah. Like that. And I was like, all right, let's try that. And, let's see who we can make fun of and how we can make fun of them. It lasted, I think, 3 weeks. Vince was entertained by it, but apparently not entertained enough to keep going on with it.
And so that was an idea. You wrote it, you submitted it to them, and they green-lighted it, or did it have to be scrutinized more than that?
Oh, of course. It's like... So let's say, so for Monday Night Raw, there's going to be a Rose Garden segment. Jimmy, you're writing this, and so I put it together. I write the words. I put pen to paper. I say, then we'll put a picture of XYZ in here, and here and here, and I put it in there, and then they put it in the script, and then Vince looks at it. The day of Raw, and he'll say, oh, good job, or he'll say, oh, God, this is trite, whatever he says, and changes are made based on that. But he made a couple changes, I think. Remember the second one, he really liked. He was like, you wrote this? Oh, this is good. That's how you know something's not good. It was one of the few compliments. I remember it's one of the few compliments he ever gave me, and I remember being like, it's kind of corny, but all right, this is Vince's cup of tea.
Okay, that's good. And so now you're working with Impact, obviously. Similar role to what you had in WWE?
Yeah, very similar.
Okay. And so doing a lot on the back end, the writing. I wanted to get your opinion on scripted promos versus giving someone the creative freedom, guidelines to go out there and do their own thing in their own voice. What's your takeaway on that? What do you feel is the better approach, and what are the pros and cons maybe to each?
So I think just like anything in life, the answer lies in the balance, right? I think there's this big misconception that if you let these WWE wrestlers, if you let them just cut promos on their own, they would be great. And man, let me tell you, buddy, when I got there, I don't know, I've been around long enough, and I thought I knew, whatever. I guess that for some reason I just assumed everybody knew what they were doing, and then I got there, I was like, oh, nobody knows what they're doing. All these guys, I don't want to bury them all, because that's not... the ability to pick up a microphone and just cut this amazing promo, I mean, it's a slim ability, man. There's a small group of guys, the guys I've worked with over the last handful of years that could pick up a microphone and talk, and it's good. You're talking about Kevin Owens and Austin Aries and Eli Drake and John Cena, it's a handful of people. John Moxley, guys like that. But for the most part, and look, man, let's say you're Seth Rollins. and you're champion, right? He was champion around the time I got there, I think. And you're starting Raw every week, seg 1 with a promo, and it's like a 15-minute long promo. It's, you start, and Stephanie comes out, and then Triple H comes out, and then Randy Orton comes out, and it's like, what are you gonna do? You talk, you call that on the fly? No, at least you need some guidelines, right? At least that, right? So okay, at least you need some guidelines, and you do that this week, and the next week, and the next week, and the next week. It's like, it's good to have somebody there to help you out with that. I would love somebody to help me out if I had to cut a 15-minute promo every single week. It's great to have somebody there, and the smart guys know that, man. John Cena, he knows that. John Cena will listen to anybody there. I mean, ultimately, he helps craft his own stuff, but he will listen to anybody because he understands that. So I think there's this misconception that, like, just let the guys talk and it'll be great. It's like, yeah, every single week. Here's the thing, man. You let everybody say whatever they want to say. You know what 90% of people are going to say? And later tonight, I'm gonna kick your ass. That's what they'll say, because that's what they'll fall back on. So I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm gonna kick your ass. And that's 3 hours of that can be a little, and then 2 hours the next day on SmackDown. And then it's like, all right, people already just say that at NXT, right? So it's in the balance, and I wish Vince gave some of the guys a little more leeway. It was hard, I think, for the guys, and detrimental to the product, to have these guys, not all of them, but recite these things word for word. It's like, or even close to word for word. It's like, give some bullet points. Have the writers there as resources to help them with come up with words. That's how it is at Impact, right? I'll go to whoever and I'll say, hey, you're cutting a promo on so and so tonight. Just let you know, and I'll leave. And hopefully by the time we're going to shoot this promo, they've come up with something, right? Hopefully they have. And that's not because I'm lazy. It's because I can never be a character better than that person can be. I can never be you better than you can be you, right? So if you could come up with your stuff and like your character and it's like you got it, it's like great. When that happens with people, it's awesome. Like that happened to Taya Valkyrie recently. Like Taya this past year as a heel, it's like she's got her character. It happened with Matt Sydal a couple years ago when he was doing like the guru thing. Like he got his character. I didn't need to produce them almost at all, right? And sometimes they have it, and sometimes they don't. And then I'm there to be like, all right, here's how we're crafted. Maybe a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this. And we craft it together. And then, the good thing is you don't have to run it up the chain for a crazy billionaire to approve or not. So that's nice. So we get sort of that balance at Impact Wrestling. And here's the thing, man. Sometimes WWE is overproduced, and sometimes, I've only seen a little bit of like AEW, but like some of it's underproduced. And sometimes Impact is underproduced. Sometimes you go like, geez. Yeah, like I watched one of the things at AEW the first week with like Jack Evans and this Jay and Silent Bob. Did you see that one?
Yeah,
and Angelico.
And Angelico.
Something like that. And I watched this and I was like, yeah, this is why you need writers, guys. You need somebody there to go, hey, let's clean this up a little bit. Let's make this a little nicer. Let's make this a little tighter. So it's good to have those people, but also having guys memorize scripts word for word a lot of times doesn't have enough soul. Yeah.
So being in the position that you're in now, working with Impact, are you keeping tunnel vision on your own product, or are you still keeping your eyes other places, on the indies maybe, AEW, WWE? How does that work for Jimmy Jacobs?
How it works for me in my life right now? Yeah, I don't like watching other wrestling. I don't like watching wrestling, really. It's not like I'll say I'm not a fan. It's just like not the thing that I enjoy anymore. I'm done doing things I don't enjoy. What I like to do, I like to produce the TV, and I like to write the TV, and I like to come up with stuff. I don't want to, sit down and watch Raw for 3 hours. I just don't. I don't want to watch AEW for 2 hours. I don't want to watch anything for almost any amount of time. It's just not what I enjoy doing. I'm not like obsessed with wrestling anymore. I go to work because I have fun working, and I have fun producing, and I have fun writing, and I have fun putting it together. And these days of TV, and we're just running around and making it, and you go, hell yeah, man, this is why I do what I do. So the rest, everybody else, like I know there's a lot of great wrestling out there. WWE, NXT, AEW, Ring of Honor, a lot of great wrestling. But like I'm just doing my thing. That's all.
Well, it's like the saying says, if you love what you do for work, you'll never work a day in your life. And I guess that's pretty much what you're explaining right now. I kind of want to ask you, I'm curious, was there ever an idea that you came up with that didn't get approved, that you think would have been a home run and it never got green lighted? Would you be allowed to share that with us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there were. There were definitely times like...
You can take your time. We can make edits in the video. Yeah. It's fine. We're not live to TV.
Yeah. There were definitely times that I, I remember I had like I had a go home promo for Triple H and Seth Rollins before their WrestleMania match was a couple years ago, and I really loved this promo that I wrote, and like Triple H like hated it, and they just did sort of generic whatever. I had this like, it was good, man. I wish I had it somewhere, but nah. It's hard to explain, but it was a really good promo. It was good. It was basically like Seth saying he had, I don't know, whatever. There's that. You can edit that out if you want. But it was really good. And Triple H didn't like it because it was a little creative. And it wasn't just like, I'm going to kick your ass. It's like, all right, I get it. I'm going to kick your ass. It's like I said, everybody says that, right? And that's what the promo was. One of the first ideas I had there, and this is just a small idea, but it's like for a finish of a match. It was like Extreme Rules 2015, and there was a last man standing match between Big Show and Roman Reigns, and they wanted to go through the ring for the finish of their match, right? But then Seth and Randy Orton were having a cage match up top, and so they're like, hey, we can't go through the ring in the semi-main event and then do the cage match later, and they didn't want to switch the order of it, and so they're trying to come up with other finishes. I go, hey man, like what about this? What if you get Big Show and Roman, they go through the ring, like kind of like in the corner of the ring, they go right through it, right? And then you have to still have this cage match to set the cage match up. And remember, like in ECW, they put like caution tape when Bam Bam and
Taz
went through it, right? So it would be like that. So it'd be this like hole in the corner, right? And so then Seth and Randy, they'll work around it, and finally you'll get a point where maybe Randy, bumps Seth into the hole, and Randy's climbing out the cage to get out of the cage. Here comes J&J security. He bumps J&J security off, and then like Randy's climbing over the top, and right before he hits the floor, all of a sudden, bang, Seth's out on the floor. So Seth fucking goes like through the hole and out and underneath the ring for the finish of the match. They were trying to come up with like a screw finish too for that, and I was like, that's fucking great. You put the hole in, Seth goes through the hole. Like I don't think it's maybe ever been done before. Maybe it has. I don't know. But Vince didn't want to do it.
Well, hopefully if they end up using that idea, they'll have a royalty check in the mail for you for that one. So now maybe you could tell us a little bit about your role there at Impact. A lot of people watching this, fans of Impact Wrestling, wrestlers as well. We have a lot of wrestlers that watch our channel. Obviously, you being in a creative role, I'm sure a lot of them, as would would like to know what you guys are looking for in terms of talent right now.
Look, man, what I would say to any wrestler, it's like, people want to go to Impact, they want to go to Ring of Honor, or they want to go to NXT or AEW, and it's like, how do I do that? How do I get to the next level? I say, to get to the next level, you got to master the level you're at. You got to beat stage 1 to get to stage 2. It's like, yeah, there's a warp zone there. You can backdoor your way in there somehow, but the surefire way to do it is like, come to this place in Ottawa, Ontario, and become the man here. And once you're the man here, and then other people want you, you become the man over there and the man over there, and all of a sudden you create this buzz, and you go from here to here to here to here. That's how almost everybody's done it, man. You look at the careers of like anybody that's like over now, more or less. These guys that are killing it, all these fucking top indie guys, whatever your Daniel Bryans or your Seth Rollins and Dean Ambroses and whoever, man. This is what they did. This is what all the guys did. They didn't just happen to get a break somewhere. It's like they made their break by becoming the guy in their local company. And then other people wanted them because they're over, and they know how to get over, and they can get over anywhere they go. So that's it. You want to come to Impact Wrestling, create a buzz outside of Impact Wrestling. That's how you do it. Yeah.
That's some great advice that you have there. Now, before we wrap up, just wondering, anything else you want to get out there? You plugged the podcast earlier. What are some of the future places they'll be able to see you and interact with you?
Yeah, I mean, look, the podcast is kind of what I enjoy doing now, because like wrestling's cool and all, but it's not something I want to talk about all the time anymore. I want to talk about like, hey man, what are we doing here? Like, why are we here? Like, what's happening? Like, you and I were standing here on this like, blue marble that's hurtling through outer space, and like we've got like hands and faces, and our faces have noses, and noses that can smell things, because for some reason odor is a quality of the universe. It's like, what the fuck, man? Like what is all this? And then you die, and what is that? Like, what's happening? That's what I want to talk about, man. So that's on the podcast. Jimmy Jacobs doesn't know.
Where else?
And yeah, for fans who want to, we're getting a word here from a stagehand. For fans that want to follow you, let's say social media, Instagram.
Yeah. Jimmy Jacobs X. You can go to jimmyjacobs.com too. It's got all the information on there. jimmyjacobs.com has everything you want if you want anything.
Okay, awesome. Well, like I said, one of my favorite people in the wrestling business. Really glad we got the time to catch up here, and thank you for being on the show. He's Jimmy Jacobs. I'm Jeremy Prophet. This is the Hannibal TV. Like us, follow us, and I will see you again next time.